The Great Hall of the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime was a place designed to remind every visitor of their smallness. The chamber stretched like a cathedral for giants, a hollow carved of light and resonance, with seats suspended in midair for the most advanced civilizations of the Milky Way. Each chair held representatives of species so ancient, so vast in their understanding, that even their bodies seemed alien to thought itself. Some shimmered as pure radiance, colors bending and folding like sentient auroras. Others were chitin and blade, insectoid monarchs with 1,000 eyes. A few were crystalline beings whose voices thrummed like symphonies. And into that space walked Jake Morrison, human ambassador of Earth. Behind him strode Admiral Lisa Carter and Chief Engineer Ryan Walsh. The three of them carried more than the weight of medals and titles. They carried 8 billion lives. The hope that maybe, just maybe, humanity could take its place as an equal among the stars. Jake stopped at the podium, the single fragile platform at the center of this coliseum of power. Dozens of alien eyes focused on him with the cold amusement of a jury that had already written its verdict. The first to speak was Counselor Vexer of the Zepyrian Empire. His insectal mandibles clicked in a pattern the translator rendered as words. So. These are the humans we've heard so much about. The species that believes it deserves a seat among true powers. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not cruel, not even hostile, but dismissive, like the sound of nobles watching children play at court. Jake's jaw tightened. Behind him, Admiral Carter shifted her weight, anger radiating from her like static. Still, he began. Honored Council members, humanity requests full membership in the Galactic Federation. We come in good faith, believing our people can contribute unique perspectives and abilities that may strengthen the community of worlds. His words, meant as an offering, sparked only louder laughter. Cart hose of the crystalline overminds pulsed with mocking light. Humans. Traveling stars for barely 2 centuries. We have watched civilizations rise and collapse over millennia before they were permitted to stand here. You are children knocking on the door of eternity. Then came High Arbiter Zolmek of the Andorian Collective, his voice coated in condescension. You show, promise. Perhaps in 1,000 years, after service and obedience to greater civilizations, you may be considered for associate status. The sting of it burned, but Jake's smile never faltered. We adapt quickly. We find solutions where others see only obstacles. That is our strength. Warlord Grixner of the Savage Clan snarled with amusement. And yet your species still wages war on itself. What could primitives who still bleed each other teach us, who transcended such behavior eons ago? The comment cut deep. Earth's last global war was still a recent wound. But Jake also knew, what they mocked as savagery was what had forged humanity's resilience. At the Council's request, Ryan Walsh activated holograms of human ships. Sleek silhouettes of steel and fusion drives shimmered above the chamber. To human eyes they were powerful. To alien eyes, they were laughable. Kinetic projectiles, one muttered. Chemical explosives. How quaint. Their frigates would barely count as escorts, another sneered. Admiral Carter's face flushed red. Her silence was an act of war contained only by iron discipline. For hours it went on. Every achievement humanity brought forward, medicine, engineering, even art, was met with patronizing dismissal. Charming in its simplicity. Adequate for primitives. At last, Zolmek called the vote. The tally was unanimous. 0 in favor. Humanity's request was denied. Instead, the Council offered a probationary role, auxiliaries, janitors of the stars. Carrying supplies. Maintaining fleets. Observing real civilizations. As the humans left, the Council chamber filled with laughter again. Did you see their weapons? Explosive charges. They have no quantum armor, no temporal stabilizers. How do they even survive in deep space? They probably don't. Back aboard their shuttle, surrounded by Leviathan alien vessels that dwarfed their modest craft, silence weighed on the three humans. Until Admiral Carter finally snapped. They have no idea what they've done. They think they've seen everything we are. Ryan nodded. Their intelligence reports told them what they wanted to hear. They never looked deeper. Jake watched the spires of Nexus Prime shrink in the viewport, a fortress of light fading into the void. They've forgotten something important, he whispered. Carter turned. What's that? That survival isn't civilized. It isn't elegant. It's brutal. And we've never forgotten how to fight when we're backed into a corner. The shuttle jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the Council had already dismissed humanity from their thoughts. The primitive species would vanish into obscurity. But in that moment, they had made the greatest mistake in galactic history. 6 months later, the Federation was burning. The emergency transmission reached Admiral Danny Brooks aboard the UES Defiance. It flooded every human channel with urgency, overriding all normal communications. The face on the main screen belonged to High Arbiter Zolmek. But gone was the arrogance. In its place was fear. People of Earth, his voice trembled. The Galactic Federation faces an existential threat. An extragalactic force, the Void Swarm, is consuming our outer systems. We have lost 17 colonies this month alone. His eyes flicked down, as though ashamed of the words he forced himself to say. Our fleets are collapsing. The swarm cannot be negotiated with. They consume everything. We request humanity's assistance. On the Defiance, Commander Kelly Pierce muttered, disgust lacing every word. They mocked us. Laughed at us. Now they come crawling. Admiral Brooks raised his hand for silence. On the screen, Zolmek struggled to finish. Your unpredictability. Your aggression. These may be our only hope. The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge was quiet except for the hum of consoles. Dr. Nathan Cross, strategic advisor, broke the silence. Admiral, early reports confirm, the Void Swarm fields biological vessels. Some no larger than fighters. Others bigger than battleships. They spit acid that dissolves standard hulls. The Federation can't adapt. Their tactics are failing. Captain Steve Miller patched in from the UES Vengeance. His destroyer had been shadowing the frontier. They've lost 60% of their fleets already. Their formations, their long-range precision doctrines, all useless. This enemy doesn't play by their rules. Admiral Brooks looked at the stars, each one representing millions of human lives. They called us primitive. But if the swarm reaches Earth, every colony, every child, dies. We fight, not for their respect, but for our survival. His voice hardened, steel in every word. Send the order. Humanity goes to war. The Federation expected humanity to rush forward with open hands. They believed Earth would offer its small fleets, its untested admirals, its primitive strategies. But they understood nothing of who we were. The truth was simple, humanity had always prepared for this day. When the Council rejected us, when they laughed in our faces, humanity did not sulk or beg. We remembered. We endured. And we quietly began what was only whispered about in military archives, Protocol 7. It was an idea born decades earlier, when the first deep space colonies realized that alien civilizations would eventually notice us. Protocol 7 was not defense. It was not diplomacy. It was survival through deception. Every ship, every weapon, every strategy that mattered was hidden. Outwardly, humanity displayed what the galaxy expected, clumsy frigates, outdated missiles, ships built like toys compared to their elegant dreadnoughts. But beneath that mask, something else was being forged. In the asteroid forges of Ceres, shipyards dug into the shadow of Mars, and caverns carved beneath Europa's ice, we built in silence. No transmissions. No fanfare. Just steel, reactor cores, and ambition. We called it the Phantom Fleet, vessels cloaked not only in technology, but in secrecy. 1,000 ships designed to fight in ways no alien doctrine could predict. When the Void Swarm began devouring the outer colonies of the Federation, humanity stayed silent. Not from fear, but from patience. Reports came in daily, crystalline fleets shattered, insectoid warships dissolved by acid, entire star systems consumed. The swarm adapted to every countermeasure. Laser grids, plasma barriers, quantum firewalls, none lasted more than a few battles. The Federation grew desperate. Their strategies, perfected over millennia, failed against an enemy that learned like wildfire. Each defeat made them more frantic, more fearful. And finally, with their backs to the wall, they begged us to help. On Earth, President Elena Marquez convened the War Council in a bunker deep beneath the Rockies. The room was filled with admirals, scientists, and political leaders. Holographic displays flickered with battle reports and casualty lists. Dr. Nathan Cross, the strategist, spoke first. The Void Swarm consumes because that is all it knows. It doesn't negotiate, doesn't hesitate, doesn't retreat. To them, war is instinct. But instinct can be turned against itself. Admiral Lisa Carter leaned forward. The Federation's mistake is fighting the swarm like it's civilized. They want order, clean battles, predictable formations. We don't fight that way. We never have. Humanity survives because we are chaos. And chaos can't be adapted to. The room fell quiet. Everyone knew what she meant. President Marquez looked each of them in the eye. Then it's decided. Protocol 7 goes active. No more waiting. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. So when the first reports came in of human ships entering battle, no one expected much. The initial engagement happened in the Kepler Expanse, a frontier where dozens of alien fleets had already been consumed. There, a small human task force emerged from hyperspace. Federation observers laughed when they saw our ships, boxy cruisers, missile racks strapped to their hulls, hull plating that looked centuries behind the curve. The laughter ended minutes later. Instead of lining up in formations, the human fleet scattered like wolves. They launched swarms of drones, disposable, crude by alien standards, but overwhelming in number. Each drone carried EMP charges, designed not to destroy, but to blind. The swarm's hive coordination faltered as its sensory nodes fried. Then came the missiles. Not sleek plasma warheads or elegant quantum torpedoes, but kinetic rods, metal spears dropped from orbit at near-relativistic speed. No shields. No fancy guidance. Just raw mass meeting alien flesh. Each strike tore swarm bioships in half, gore and acid boiling into space. Federation ships watching from a distance were stunned. For them, war was beauty, fleets moving in perfect rhythm, exchanging beams of light across the void. For humanity, war was ugliness, improvisation, brutality. And it worked. In one battle, the humans achieved what entire armadas had failed to do, they stopped the swarm. News spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, species who had mocked humanity watched recordings of the battle in silence. For the first time, they saw something alien in us. Something frightening. But humanity revealed only a fraction of its hand. The Phantom Fleet remained hidden. The secret weapons, the deep space tactics, the desperate measures designed for extinction events, all of it still waiting. Instead, we fed the galaxy carefully chosen victories. Enough to inspire whispers, but not enough to show our true capacity. Inside the War Council, the strategy was deliberate. Let them underestimate us again, Admiral Brooks said. Let them believe we've shown our full hand. When the swarm pushes deeper, when the galaxy grows truly desperate, then we strike. Not as their servants. Not as their auxiliaries. But as equals, or as rulers. Meanwhile, something else was happening. Not in battlefields, but in the minds of the galactic powers. Cracks began to form in their arrogance. The Zephyrians, who once mocked our projectile weapons, quietly requested joint research treaties. The crystalline overminds, who called us primitives, sent observers to Earth's laboratories. Even the Andorian collective, proud architects of the Federation, dispatched envoys with an unusual tone, respect. Humanity had become what they never expected, unpredictable. But not everyone was pleased. In the shadows of the council chambers, rival factions whispered. If humans could stop the swarm where ancients failed, what else could they do? Would humanity remain content as allies? Or would this primitive race, the one they laughed at, rise to take the galaxy for itself? The answer would come soon. Because the void swarm was not finished. The battle at Kepler Expanse had been a victory, but only a taste. The swarm adapted. It evolved. The next wave came stronger, faster, hungrier. Entire clusters fell before its advance. The Federation begged for more human fleets, more human strategy. And Earth gave it, carefully, deliberately. One battle here, one ambush there. Enough to keep the swarm from devouring the core worlds, but never enough to end the war outright. Humanity was fighting two enemies, the swarm, and the arrogance of the Federation itself. Because deep down, humanity understood the truth. When the swarm was defeated, if it could be defeated, the galaxy would remember. They would remember that when all their fleets failed, it was Earth that stood. And the galaxy would never look at us the same way again. The swarm spread like wildfire, and the Federation burned. For months, humanity fought where no one else could. Our fleet struck like lightning, never where expected, never in predictable numbers. We won victories measured not in territory, but in survival. Every battle was carefully chosen, every defeat deliberate, every victory staged for maximum effect. To the galaxy, it seemed miraculous. To us, it was simply strategy. What they never understood was that humanity was not fighting for the Federation. We were fighting for memory, the memory of a council that had spat in our faces, laughed at our weakness, and left us to die alone. Now those same powers begged for our fleets, our admirals, our ideas. And we gave, just enough. The truth was that most of the Phantom Fleet still waited in the dark, engines silent, weapons idle. Humanity held back its sharpest blades. Not from mercy, not from fear, but because war was also theater. The galaxy needed to see us as indispensable. Only then could we choose what came next. It was at the siege of Vega that the mask began to slip. The swarm came in numbers no one thought possible. Billions of bioships, blotting out the stars. The Federation sent everything it had left, crystalline dreadnoughts, insectoid carriers, machine collectives, all thrown into the fire. The system became a graveyard of shattered hulls and drifting corpses. By the third day, Federation command was ready to flee. Entire civilizations prepared to abandon their homeworlds. Vega would fall, and with it, the core worlds of the galaxy. And then, the humans arrived. Not the clumsy cruisers or drone swarms the galaxy had come to expect. This time, it was something different. They came in silence. Black hulls, sharp angles, no insignia. They did not move like fleets. They moved like predators. The first volley was not plasma, not lasers, not kinetic rods. It was something the galaxy had never seen before, compressed singularity weapons. Tiny artificial black holes, launched at close range, ripping swarm capital ships into ribbons of torn flesh and twisted metal. Shields meant nothing. Armor meant nothing. The swarm recoiled. For the first time, it hesitated. Federation admirals stared in shock. Humanity had revealed weapons they did not even know were possible. And it wasn't just the firepower. It was the way we fought. Human ships vanished into stealth fields, reappearing behind enemy lines, carving through command nodes before fading again. Entire wings of drones sacrificed themselves to create gaps in the swarm's lines, only for hidden rail batteries to fire through those gaps with perfect precision. It was not war. It was execution. By the 7th day, the swarm fled. Vega was saved. But the galaxy had seen too much. In the aftermath, Federation leaders gathered in council. Not to celebrate, but to whisper. What are the humans hiding? How long have they possessed these weapons? If they can defeat the swarm, what will they demand next? Fear spread faster than gratitude. For in saving Vega, humanity had also shattered the illusion. We were no longer primitives with crude tactics. We were something else. Something the galaxy did not understand, and could not control. Dr. Nathan Cross, the strategist, saw it clearly. He warned the War Council back on Earth. They fear us more than they fear the swarm. And they're right to. The next phase was not decided in space, but in psychology. Humanity began to wage a quieter war, not with ships or weapons, but with stories. Every Federation channel carried rumors. Recordings of human victories, carefully leaked footage of the Phantom Fleet, whispers of technologies no alien mind could comprehend. Some of it true. Some of it exaggerated. All of it intentional. Fear became our ally. Federation soldiers began to request human advisors. Colonies asked for human garrisons. Even rival empires quietly sought our protection. In a galaxy of chaos, humanity became the one constant, the unpredictable force that somehow always survived. President Marquez put it best in a private address. We will not conquer the galaxy. We will not rule it by decree. We will rule it by necessity. Let them believe they need us. Let them fear what happens if we leave. And it worked. The Federation became less a council of equals, and more a coalition orbiting Earth. But beneath the victories, a question lingered. One the galaxy dared not ask aloud. How did humanity know? How did we design weapons against an enemy we had never faced? How did our strategies predict the swarm so precisely? How could a young species fight like it had been preparing for this war forever? The answer was buried deep, in files locked beneath Earth's oldest military bunkers. The Harari had asked it first, a neutral species, ancient and quiet, who watched wars from the edges of the void. They spoke rarely, but when they did, it was with unsettling precision. You are not fighting only for survival, the Harari envoy said to Cross. You are rehearsing. Preparing for something greater. The swarm is only a shadow. Tell us, who are you truly preparing for? Cross said nothing. But the silence was answer enough. Because in the deepest archives of Earth, humanity remembered something the galaxy had forgotten. Fragments of transmissions buried in cosmic background noise. Artificial patterns older than the stars. Echoes of civilizations erased not by the swarm, but by something else. The architects. They were not legend, not myth. They were real. Builders of empires so vast they rewrote galaxies like clay. And then, they vanished. Some said they ascended. Others, that they were destroyed. Humanity knew the truth, they had gone silent. And silence from such beings was not safety. It was warning. The swarm was terrible, yes. But it was only a predator. The architects were something more, a force that reshaped existence itself. And Protocol 7 had never been about the Federation. It had never been about the swarm. It had always been about the day the architects returned. So humanity played the long game. We bled just enough to win the galaxy's trust, revealed just enough to plant fear, and held back just enough to remain underestimated. The Federation thought we were reckless. The swarm thought we were prey. Both were wrong. In truth, Earth was patient. Earth was calculating. And Earth was waiting. Because one day, the stars would tremble again. Not from the swarm. Not from humanity. But from the architects. And when that day came, humanity would be ready.